Welcome back to the party, everybody. I am your host, Lutch, aka the Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. How's everybody doing tonight? Let's party. Big shout out to the replay gang. Thank you so much for coming back to watch this, guys. Even though you missed the live parties, guys, that is the best part. So make sure you are here every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, and sometimes whenever I feel like it. So hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, and you will never miss an Indian Jesus live party ever again. Let's also say thank you to my6shirt.com. Whatever your persuasion, they've got something for you. And of course, it is the only place to get your very own The Indian Jesus official merch. Only at my6shirt.com. All right. Welcome to the party. So, we've been dealing with some heavier stuff lately, and shout out to Melted Mind Media, $13.99. What are you talking about? Shout out to Daniel Cabrera. Welcome to the party. Morty's shaking. Morty's already shaking. We're dealing with the storm. Come here, Mort. Come here. No, you don't want to come hang out with me? All right. Well, Morty's scared. Let's see if we can get him out of his show. But anyway, we have for you today another episode of Street Epistemology. If you're not familiar, this is Dr. Peter Boghossian, who has an awesome podcast, and it's definitely worth checking out. But I really, really love what he does here. And it's similar. It's similar to, the shows that we do, like the Jubilee Middle Ground, with a slight difference and I think a little bit better conversation. So basically what happens is you'll get a prompt, and then he has these lines on the ground. Everybody starts on neutral, and there's slightly agree or disagree or agree, and strongly disagree. Oh, look who we have in the house, the man himself, Dr. Peter Boghossian. Welcome to the party. Of course, gotta drop the link if you are running to come up. Either way, glad to see you. We got Lil Toes in the house, and yeah. So as I was just saying, this the podcast is great. He is very intelligent and definitely has a philosophical mind that I really appreciate. And you can see it when it comes to this game, because the way that he facilitates the conversations and the way that he stays out of influencing his own opinions. Because again, if you watch the podcast, you'll be familiar with his opinions, but he does a great job of keeping that out of it. I talk about how Tim Pool's Culture War podcast is kind of good in that same respect, but Tim ain't really staying out of it. But Peter Boghossian is the ball. So let's jump right into Flinders Station in Melbourne, Australia, or Melbourne, as they say. As always, if you cannot hear the video, please do let me know.
Conversations about anything. Gender is different from sex. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
So again, this is the claim here. Gender is different from sex, and then the different lines on the ground that everybody starts on neutral, and then we will see where they go. Let me know what you guys think of the claims. Lil Toes, did I already shout you out? Yes, I did. Welcome. Said, bigot is a silly umbrella term for people libs don't like. Well, that's the semantic obfuscation. That's what it's turning into, right? Because that's not at all what a bigot means. A bigot means somebody who is prejudiced against somebody just based on their immutable characteristics. But as Lil Toes is pointing out, anytime you disagree with somebody, well, that's bigotry. That's bigotry.
How dare you?
It's too far. It's too far. All right. So the claim here, gender is different from sex. Let me know what you guys think. And of course, we have the running poll right now. Can facts be bigoted? Replay gang, let me know. Can facts be bigoted? All right.
Move.
All right. So it looks like we got.
Okay.
So it looks like we got 3 people playing, and then I'm not sure who this is, but Common Ground Conversations is tagged, so I'm assuming he's somebody here to play the game and get some good content as well.
Explain, or you can stay there if you want. There's no compunction to move. Okay. Explain to him why you strongly agree that gender is different from sex. Explain.
Gender is how we condition people to behave.
What?
How we condition people to behave.
Who's the we there?
Society. Everyone.
Society.
And what do you mean by condition?
We bring them up in a manner that we give them particular toys. We dress them a particular way.
Loud so he can hear. I don't think he can hear you.
We dress them a particular way. We teach them certain things that are specifically boy or girl. We teach them to generally be quite binary. You're either a boy or a girl, as opposed to your male or female.
All right. Do you agree with what she said?
Yeah. I would have.
Tell him.
I would say that gender is very fluid, and
Is it though? I know that's what you've been told, but is it?
I generally would have thought that sex is something, you're assigned at birth. That is what you are, but gender is something you feel, and I feel that now we have the opportunity to choose what gender we feel we are.
Oh boy, guys, I'm gonna have to fill in a lot of space here because I get where they're coming from, but clearly not very articulate. All right. Got my
What
work cut
does
out.
that mean to choose what gender you feel you are? What do you mean?
Great.
Well, if I felt inside that I wanted to be a man or a boy.
But how would you know what that feeling is? That's the starting point for all of this. What is your frame of reference to understand what it is to be a man in the first place, and then to have the desire for that? You need to understand what that is in order to want it.
I could decide now that I want to transition into that gender.
You mean you transition into the gender?
Right.
Yeah.
Now I've lost you, so I'm not sure. What's the difference between sex and gender?
So sex is what you are assigned at birth, I think. Yeah, biological. And
So what do you-
gender,
yeah.
gender, if you feel that you are a different gender.
Oh, so when you say transition, you don't mean physically undergo surgery to.
You don't have to.
Okay.
If you don't feel that you want that, you don't have to.
It's just like whatever you feel is like right for you. It's just like what you feel.
Did you agree with everything she said?
Of course I do.
Okay, if you you agree.
We're standing on the same line. What do you mean? Do you think we would have a disagreement? We are in agreement. Okay, that is the truth. It is my reality.
With everything she said. So why aren't you on her line and why isn't she on
They're
your
not
line?
even on the same line.
Why aren't you on that line?
Because I didn't step that far.
Do you want to change lines? Okay, go ahead.
I didn't step that far. That is the question.
Do you want to change lines to where she was?
No.
Oh, that's such a great question. I would have cracked up if they switched spots. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
What did you think of what they said? Is there anything that they said about sex or gender that? Well, what do you think sex and gender are?
So it looks like his I don't even know what you call this. This sign says, "What is gender?"
Or do you know?
I think I find a lot of common ground with both of you. So if we say that
I like that. Richard from Common Ground. I find common ground with both of you. Smart.
sex is biological, then it kind of refers to an objective reality or an objective truth that we can measure and verify. Common ground. Gender, I heard you say that gender it's kind of like the stereotypes that we might place on those sexes. Yeah, okay. So like, if you're a biological male, we might have a certain expectation of that biological male or a biological female, and that would be gender or part of gender for
There
you.
we go.
Okay, cool.
So now, so see how well he encapsulated what they were trying to say, and they're like, well, this thing, and as Peter Boghossian is saying, this guy is great. I think he is really going to pull this together, because if it was just the two of them, we would have a hard time.
So, because I find common ground with that as well, that we might have certain sex-based stereotypes, a stereotype of what a biological male is supposed to or typically does, and same for female. And then I heard you say something like it's how you feel, and that's probably what I would consider gender identity. So, I know that people use that expression to refer to that.
So now we have to separate and differentiate what is the difference between gender and sex, and what is the difference between gender and gender identity. So I think what the women there were doing, were mixing up gender and gender identity. They're confusing themselves, guys.
And that's where you might feel more like you they might say you feel more like a woman or feel more like a man.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that seems to be based on someone's sex-based stereotypes.
I was
So
just going to
if
say,
you
yeah.
an idea of what a biological male typically does, but you're a biological female and you kind of feel like you fit into that stereotype, then you might say my gender identity is a man.
Is a man. Yeah. And this it flies completely in the face of the entire idea behind accepting people's gender. That no matter what your sex is, that however you choose to express that is fine. But then when you actually think about it, the only parameters they have to understand whether you're non-binary or you're trans or you're cis or whatever are all based on stereotypes. Boy playing with a Barbie, up trans. Girl playing with a Tonka truck, up trans. But I thought it was supposed to be, girls can play with trucks. Girls can, ride bikes and get dirty. Men can want to dance and be a ballerina and whatever. And that doesn't have to do with your gender at all. Guess not.
In the sense that you feel like you fit into that gender stereotype.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's a lot of common ground. The reason...
Can I pause it?
Yes.
All right, we're going to play a drinking game. Every time Richard from Common Ground Conversations says common ground, we are going to drink.
Agree with his analysis of your position?
Yes.
Yes.
Think I missed anything?
I also feel that biological sex is also not completely binary, because you can have
Because there's intersex people, and because there's an exception, that means that there's no rule.
what we assign as the full gamut of male hormones.
Like intersex, are you talking about?
Yep. So you can have intersex, but also you could have the full gamut of what is considered peak maleness. Yet some males won't have all of that. Some may have, a little bit more of a female hormone going on, and so it's not even the biological part is not necessarily binary. There's intersex.
Okay.
But of course, again, you would never say, and this is the tired argument of just because a person has one arm doesn't mean that we can no longer say that humans have two arms. That's the argument that is being put forth when somebody talks about intersex, to say that it's not binary. And there is something different. The difference between binary and bimodal, which means that there is a range, and the range of maleness and femaleness. There might be overlapping pieces of that where you could be intersex, but there's still two things. There's still two categories, which is a binary.
I think, okay, so is there a distinction for us to draw between what exactly constitutes a biological male and a biological female? Because what I heard there is you can definitely have more feminine biological males and more masculine biological females. But I'm curious as to what your definition of sex would be. So how do we determine someone's
There you go.
sex?
Defining
How do we
terms.
say this person's a female, this person's a male, and what is intersex? Maybe we should find some clarity there.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Always good to define your terms.
I guess I would say body parts. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah, and that doesn't necessarily define how you identify, but
Right. So there you go. That would be, in your eyes, the difference between gender and sex.
they're there.
So we could have a biological male
Peter getting his
who
steps in.
identifies or whose gender identity is woman. In your eyes? Okay. Would you agree?
Yeah, but I think practically speaking, we assign based on a full set of genitalia.
Right.
Yep.
Keep an eye on this guy over here, right, with his old man ponytail.
Yeah. And so if someone were to, this is where I'm kind of figuring things out too. If we have someone who is born, because we're kind of defining biological male, I'll keep that aside. If we have someone who's born with XY chromosomes and they have a penis, and then they, for some reason or another, have that penis removed or altered into what might try to emulate a vagina, does that change their sex in your eyes, or are they still a biological male
All right.
who?
Hold on. I'm going to reset the line. Everybody go to neutral again.
So I would actually I would have liked to hear what they had to say about that, but maybe his next prompt is going to be addressing that. But yeah, they don't the women don't really seem to have a good handle on what their position actually is, which is which is fine, but it seems to be the case with many people who want to fit in and want to say the right answers, and they want to be involved in the conversation, but they don't know what the conversation is. They just they think it's simple. And it's just, whatever you feel. But when you actually talk to somebody who's thought about this and isn't just, following the orthodoxy, then is that the right word? You know what I mean? Following the narrative. Then it's like, whoa. I never thought about this.
Come to neutral.
All right. So guys, when a new claim comes up, you guys tell me where you stand. Neutral, slightly agree or disagree, or strongly agree or disagree.
Sex is assigned at birth.
All right. Sex is assigned at birth. So this is kind of like the polls that I do, because sex, the whether you're looking at the word assigned as the doctor determining or the doctor observing is going to be very interesting to how you answer this. Oh, struggle.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, move.
All right. So we got one on agree.
Explain.
Oh, they both
Sex is assigned at birth. Explain.
So Richard stayed on neutral, and the two of them went to agree. I would personally, strongly agree or strongly disagree. So I would say disagree based on the way that the language has been changing. So too many people are going to see that word assign and understand it as the doctor making a determination rather than an observation.
When you are born, they see your, like, if you have a penis or if you have a vagina, and they assign you as a girl or a boy.
See, but she's not getting to the heart of that question. What do you mean by assign?
Agree with that?
Yes.
Do you agree with that?
Whether I agree or not, that is actually what happens.
Yeah.
So yes is the answer to your question. Daniel says sex isn't assigned; it's determined in the womb by a certain hormone. It's determined in the womb. A certain hormone is added at a point in gestation, or it isn't. And strongly agree. I agree with you and the prompt. Well, according to the observation.
That is how.
That is
Hospitals.
All right, reset to the neutral. Reset to the neutral. Reset to the neutral.
So this is another trick that Peter's using here that I'm starting to learn is when the conversation is not moving in the way that he wants, instead of him putting his own ideas in there and driving it to be the to be the conversation that he wants, he'll just reset and have a different claim that will drive exactly. See, I see what you're doing, bro. I see it.
You can one can change their sex. One can change their sex.
All right, guys. One can change their sex. I'm pretty sure we would all be on strongly disagree here, but if you're not, let me know.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, move.
All right, we got an agree, a slightly agree, and
Okay,
Richie
you gotta
boy
speak
on
loud.
disagree.
Tell him why you can change. One can change their sex.
Now, this is interesting how you would be slightly anything on this. This seems like a very binary question. Either you can or you cannot. So to be on slightly agree already shows that, like, oh, I don't want to get in trouble.
They can go through surgeries to like make them feel their gender, I guess, but still
No, their sex. Their sex.
that still changes their sex.
Does it though?
Because it depends on why they change their sex, depends on what gender they feel.
Nobody asked why anything. The claim was, can you change your sex?
I think.
So their gender
Or you can change your sex.
Yeah.
Okay, so I just wanted to clarify that. So that if they are
All right, get your drinks
in
ready.
your eyes, born a particular sex, if they feel like their gender identity is not in alignment with that sex, they can then change their sex to suit their gender identity. Okay.
And this is the point that really I was willing to say, like, whatever you guys do, you want to identify as this, that, whatever. I really do not care. Between the children and then the idea that you are actually transforming a man into a female, not a man into a woman. I'm willing to say, okay, gender and sex are different. We can, that can at least work. There's at least internal logic in that. But when you're talking about changing your actual sex as opposed to your gender, then you get off into la la land.
Is that accurate?
Yeah.
Okay, so if a person undergoes what's called bottom surgery and top surgery and takes hormones, let's say when they came out, they had a penis, and then they undergo surgery, does that make them a woman?
Yeah.
Does it though?
Okay.
If they want to be a woman.
Well, wait. So you can take your penis and invert it into a neo-vagina. But if you don't want to be a woman, then you're just a man with a vagina?
What?
Okay.
Yeah, let's say that's your goal. So someone at birth can change their sex from male, their sex, not their gender, can change their sex from male to female. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Hey, shout out to Indie Film. Welcome to the party, brother. Good to see ya. And indeed, it does not.
I would disagree. But
I said shit. Me too.
I'm curious as to where exactly we disagree. So I would have defined sex as you're either male or female or intersex based on your biology.
And again, an easier way to say that is you're either male or female, unless you are the exception to the rule. The exceptions prove the rule.
In particular, whether you have XY chromosomes or XX chromosomes, and then in certain instances where there might be an abnormality with your sex-based chromosomes, then that's where you might fall into the category of intersex. But that you can't change, even if we were to have someone who was born a biological male with XY chromosomes that were functioning and that were normal, and they developed a penis as they grew in the uterus, if they were, say, in adulthood, to remove their penis and have a surgery that creates something that imitates a natural vagina, I wouldn't say that changes their sex. I would just say they're still a biological male who's attempting to appear more like a biological female because that makes them feel more comfortable.
Affirmed.
And I would just add more comfortable because, and I wonder whether this is where we find some common ground, more comfortable because it aligns with their gender identity.
Do you agree with what he said?
So before we get to her, what I'm realizing is going to be my role here tonight is to try to bridge the gap of what these women are actually trying to express. And I think Richard's doing a great job of steel manning, but I'm wondering if there's going to be a point at which he's, trying to push his own message. But it's very clear that these women have a general vague idea of what they think, but they've never actually sat down and thought about it. So they don't really know.
Yeah, I understand that, but I think they are still
So you understand but don't agree.
not fully. They are still
Oh my
changing.
God,
Okay, hold on. So you not fully agree. Do you agree enough to move to the slightly agree?
Yeah,
Okay.
All right. Okay. All right.
Now, what is the point of disagreement?
they're still changing their sex.
Are they though?
They still are taking away what they were assigned at birth and changing it to
They're taking away the penis in this
and
case.
changing it to a woman's anatomy. Thought.
if they want. Remember, if they want. So if I got in some weird accident and my dick got chopped off, but I didn't, and the only surgery that I could possibly get was to turn it into a neo vagina, but I didn't want to be a woman, I would still be a man. But if I decided in that same exact state that I wanted to be a woman, then not just my gender, but my sex would change.
What?
I don't know. Exactly, Melting Mind Media. One step at a time. Little bits. Incremental change is what we need. Yeah. Assigned.
For the most part. Obviously not, the uterus is not there, but for the most part, they are changing it to a woman's vagina. And therefore, I feel that they
You mean a man's vagina?
are
Or at least a male's vagina.
woman.
Do you agree with what she said?
Slightly.
Oh my God. So here's the two things we're going to drink on. Whenever Richard says common ground and whenever one of them actually stands on a claim and doesn't say, well, maybe slightly, a little bit this way, maybe kind of. This is what gets me so frustrated, because these are the type of people that are out there who are not talking about this stuff. These are the people who are out there that are listening to, whether it's people on our side talking about this stuff or the people on the other side, and kind of wanting to think that they can be, they can avoid all of it and they can just stay in the middle. So that's why they haven't thought about this stuff, because they're not, worried about the same things that we're worried about in terms of children and truth. And then they're also not as, they don't have any skin in the game, because I'm assuming that they're straight and cis and all that. And so they're looking to be sensitive, but they don't have the information. And what they've been taught is bigotry is simply factual, so let's bring us to the poll. Says, can facts be bigoted? And 77% of you said no. I completely agree. Facts don't care about your feelings, right? Daniel said, I wasn't assigned anything. I was born a boy. I became a man. Really simple, honestly. Agreed.
But what is the point of disagreement? Tell him so he can hear too.
I would think that I think you can mostly change sex, but we're still refining it. I know there have been some studies, and that's why I chose slightly agree, because I don't know enough, where hormones, so the biological bit, I think, is also, the anatomy is different from the hormones. So biology and the anatomy are different. So you could...
The biology and the anatomy are different. How so? I would love to know, because clearly they're different words. But in this case, how do they not overlap? Peter Boghossian says bigotry is a property of people, not things. Bingo. Exactly. We can't. This is the same kind of thought process of thinking that guns are inherently bad. Which is, I was one of those people before I actually sat down, talked to people, and thought about it. Well said, sir. Welcome to the party, Martian Overlord. Welcome. Said, genetics trump emotions. I respect people who go through a process to express themselves, but reality doesn't change. Awesome. Awesomely said, because I absolutely agree. A lot of people who are against against wokeness and specifically the trans stuff will say, I don't care if you do with your body. I don't care. I'll go a step beyond that. I genuinely am happy for you that we live in a society where you can express yourself. Because even though like my self-expression was, getting the big gauges in my ear and getting a lip ring and getting tattoos and stuff, even though that was my version of, my personality being expressed, I still had issues with that. So I want people to be able to express themselves properly or accurately, shall I say. That doesn't mean we need to upend reality. We just need to understand, okay, you are different. You can be different. That's okay if you're different. Let's just acknowledge that indeed you are different. Melting Mind Media. Did I drop your link already? Let me grab that for you. Another awesome YouTuber just dropped an awesome video today about the new Stickman. Link in the chat. Please go check him out. Says to Peter Boghossian, you're going to be doing this in the New Jersey area? I know a guy who would be great. I do too. Next up, Europe again. Yeah, those are interesting. It's interesting to see, within America what people think. But going to Australia, going to Europe, it's a little bit harder to understand the people, But I definitely appreciate the outside perspective. So safe travels. I am with it.
Could not do anything other than take your penis away, and you could do nothing but take your penis away and still be considered biologically male.
Right.
But you can do, many different you can have surgery and you can do a lot of hormone treatment that will change your hormones. So we are.
Sex in your eyes?
Say that again.
Question was, would in your eyes, would that change your sex?
And she's gonna say yes, when clearly that is a terrible standard to have. That reality can change based on your feelings. That's terrible. Ooh, conservative areas. Hey, Jersey can be very conservative. Just saying.
Have changed your hormones enough that they can do blood tests or whatever to ascertain that your females now present hormones now present as primarily female dominant. Okay. I guess so, but I think it's still being refined.
So all she's saying is that if you have more estrogen than the average man and is more in line with what the level of estrogen that women have and testosterone then that's what makes your sex change. Because remember, we're still we're still on the claim one can change their sex.
Okay. I think I understand. So just to make sure that I do, is it that it sounds like, Claire, your definition was more so anatomical, where if a biological male had a surgery, a bottom surgery that created something that approximated an imitation of a natural vagina, then they would qualify as biologically female in your eyes. Whereas for you, was it Melinda, that they would also, that wouldn't quite qualify for you. They would also need to change their hormone levels. So say, for example, they would need to bring their testosterone down to what would be within the typical female range.
Let me hold on.
So this is, again, we have to talk about the obfuscation that they are talking about hormone levels and body part. This is just convoluting the conversation. It's very simple. It's exactly what we think it is. It's binary. You are a man or you're a woman or you are an exception. But there's such a drive. To make sure that people don't think that anymore, that the mental gymnastics are Simone Biles levels.
Did he accurately, did he capture your positions accurately?
Yes, except that
yeah, imagine that. It's crazy, right? How the people on our side of the issue always are able to steelman what y'all are thinking, but you have no clue even what you're thinking, much less what we're thinking.
If someone has hormone treatment and it's still, so they have the top and bottom, if they have top and bottom surgery and they have the hormone treatment, but for some reason their levels still don't meet the dominant female hormones, for me, they still almost qualify as a female because that's what they're trying to be.
So for me, they almost qualify. What does that mean?
Okay, I think I understand.
I don't.
Reason why I'm still over here on strongly disagree, I think it comes down to our different definitions of sex. So that's where I would still define sex as what are your essentially chromosomally based, taking into consideration that sometimes, you can have XY chromosomes, but there's a particular part of the Y chromosome where you might have some kind of abnormality that results in you not developing a penis or not developing a typical penis and having typical male testosterone levels, etc. And that's where you might slot into that intersex part. But I would still
Oh, Morty's hiding.
Base sex on biological male XY chromosomes, biological female XX chromosomes.
And you think that surgery alone, to Claire's point, surgery alone won't change that. They're still male and female.
Correct. Yeah, I think that having, say, for example, male to female sexual reassignment, I think that's a misnomer. It's not sexually reassigning. You're still the same sex, but you're appearing more like you're attempting to appear more like the opposite sex.
Right, and that's another point. I never even thought of that they talk about a sex change when really it's not, is it? It's not, is it? Martian Overlord says, as a follower of Saint Gonzo, I am offended by the attempts to make weirdness normal, destroying its beauty. Fair point. But I mean, that's the nature of free speech, right? Is that we have to be able to preserve the things that we love because other people might hate them, and that's okay. But we have to be strong in our morals and our principles and our understanding of what it is that we want to preserve.
Do you agree with what he just said?
No, I think it is sexual reassignment.
Semantic obfuscation. Because it's called sexual reassignment, she now believes that you are changing your biology.
Why do you think it's sexual reassignment?
Because
they call it that.
they're taking away the penis, which in our eyes is anatomically what makes you a man.
And again, we know these are tired old arguments. That's not the point of what we are doing to learn anything new about this, but to tap into what are average people who are not all about this. What are they thinking? How do they think about this stuff? Of course, I'm sure she's never even heard the question. Well, okay, if somebody chops off your titties, does that make you a man? She's like, well, no, of course not. Well, that's your logic. That if you just take the pieces out, then it changes your biology. When of course we know that is simply not the case. What's going on here? These are not popping up. Come on. All right, the comments aren't popping up, but give me a second. I'm sure they'll pop up here.
What if somebody, was in a car accident or something, and you can imagine some weird accident, and he lost his penis? Would that make that and testicles? Would that make that person a woman?
I think it would make them intersex because they haven't gone wanting to get a vagina. They just sat.
That's not what intersex means. That's not what intersex means. I'm sorry, guys. I don't know why these comments are not popping up. This is frustrating because you guys that's my favorite part of all of this. But Peter Boghossian says linguistic bamboozlement. Yeah, that's what I call semantic obfuscation. And it's just the tactic of getting people to use words in a way that they're not meant to be used. Oh, all right, give me 2 seconds here. Haha. All right, comments. There we go. Hold on. Struggle streaming. Okay. Linguistic bamboozlement is exactly right. Again, I'd call it semantic obfuscation. And I believe that this is one of the two worst things, that are causing our discourse to fall away. That between dogmatic thinking, whether you believe that a man can transform into a female, or you believe that there is some version of a man in the sky who has all the answers and has given you, whatever. Dogmatic thinking is not good. Welcome to the party, Opus. Welcome. Yeah, exactly. We all know the story. This isn't new. This isn't new information. This is about keeping under an understanding of what are we dealing with. The people who are out there, what are they thinking? We need to understand that if we are to continue having these conversations. We can sit here and, in a circle of jerks and think about how great we are knowing this, that, and the other, but that doesn't do anything. That doesn't help anybody. What we need is to get to people like her and not, shame her or anything like that, but have her understand, allow the conversation to be something that she is willing to engage with and maybe change her mind. Peter got her to move over one line, and like Melty said, one bit at a time.
Badly lost their penis.
How do you respond to the chromosomal argument that he made?
I do agree.
I don't know.
But then I also agree with how if you underwent hormonal treatment, then that would change.
So for you, surgery is a big part of it.
Yeah.
What if a man, biological man born with a penis, had surgery, but this is a terrible job and it just didn't look like a vagina at all?
Well, it's all about what you feel and how you think and all of that.
They'd still be a woman. They still try to undergo that surgery.
And when you say be a woman, what do you mean?
I guess at that point, I would say they identify as a woman.
But
Of course. What do you mean by a woman? Well, if you feel like a woman. Again, sorry guys, these comments are not popping up, so I'm just gonna read them from the YouTube chat. The Opus says that might be it. It's been here on and off all day. Tornado advisor. Yeah, it is storming. So maybe that's got something to do with it. Opus goes on to say the people telling the masses to think this way or live that way, live lives much closer to traditional conservative Americans. They are hypocrites. Martian Overlord says the average person is rarely provided adequate information without digging anymore. Yeah, I mean, you have to go and search for it. You have to go and look for it. It's not going to be there. And not only that, but there's actually people looking to confuse you with the wrong information. So it goes further than that. Welcome to the party, Parents67. Welcome. I said literally, you literally said don't mock them 2 minutes ago and then mock them. Well, I guess I'm not perfect then. Opus said you should always ask yourself if someone is practicing what they preach before you take them seriously.
Bingo.
Well said.
Are they a woman?
I mean, what do you mean? It was really bad?
Well, let's say that you had a Michelangelo of vaginal sculptures, and then let's say that you had, somebody who was just terrible at it. And so one person could make an exact replica of a vagina that was indistinguishable, and another person was like, whoa, what is that? To you, would that make a difference for whether or not that person would change sex?
I mean, if they really wanted to, they could get it redone. They could do it again.
But let's say that it was a botched surgery. Would that person be a woman?
Nope.
Yes.
Is
it still a hole?
Okay.
They're stuck on
Okay,
this.
I think
He's
I
figuring it out.
get you. So tell me if I understand. But that if you, it's what makes you a woman in your eyes. So let's say there's a biological male, regardless of whether they have a successful or unsuccessful surgery, is secondary when it comes to being a woman. It's secondary to whether or not they identify as a woman. So if you're a biological male and you say, I feel authentically like a woman, in your eyes, would that make this is where I get confused. Does that make their gender woman or does that make their sex female in your eyes?
Yeah. It does. It's confusing because if it is a botched surgery, then I would bring gender identity into it because
What do you mean?
they still want to be a woman. It's not
What does
their
that have
fault
to
that
do
the
with it?
surgery didn't go well. So I would bring gender identity into it and say they feel like a woman, they want to be a woman.
I feel like I want to be a tall man. That ain't gonna happen. It doesn't change my height. But again, we see that this is the level of thought that that people have about this stuff. That, oh, if you just feel this way, then you are that way. That's the end of the line of thinking. Anyone else says this is a mental illness. Absolutely. StreamYard definitely taking the L. Opus says, Occam's razor. The simplest solution is usually the correct one. The one that gives you the solution that has the least assumptions is usually the correct one. Daniel says, so wait, it's still a hole. That's what she said. Does that make, oh no. Does that make my ear a vagina? I guess if whatever you feel, if you feel like it's a vagina and you put dicks in it, then yes.
Anatomy doesn't necessarily matter. I think it doesn't necessarily matter either way. Somebody doesn't have to have a surgery to become a woman. If they feel like a woman, they should be allowed to express themselves as a woman.
But that would be gender and not sex.
Yeah, I know.
So would they get the F on their? This is I'm from the United States. Maybe
Shout out to Mia Aguilar. Sorry if I'm saying that incorrectly, and I apologize for not being able to pull the comments up. Saying that you can stretch your legs through surgery to be taller. True, but then I would actually be taller. That's the difference. And no, I definitely cannot afford it. But that would be the difference, is that I actually would be taller in reality. But that doesn't work with sex now, does it?
you don't do that in
Welcome to the party.
Australia. I don't know, but do you put M and F on the license plate on your driver's license?
Do we?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Talk about struggle stream. All right, give me a second here, guys. I have no idea what just happened. Okay. Oh, I get it. Okay. All right. Hey, we got comments. There we go. There we go. There we go. A little bit of struggle streaming. Thank you guys for hanging out. And I don't know if they're coming up. Shout out to Abenox. The CIA is probably coming for me. I don't know what is going on, but we are going to march on. The show must go on. I appreciate you guys sticking with me.
No, that's okay. That's okay. So does changing your gender identity also change your sex?
No.
Okay, well, then what have you been arguing about this entire time?
Okay, so like, yeah, it's good. It's good because I'm trying to understand this. So if you do have a botched, biological male has a botched surgery, doesn't go to plan, feels authentically like a woman, in your eyes, that would. Yeah, this is still where I'm a little bit confused around the distinction.
No, you're not confused. That's exactly what they think.
Between maybe we could.
It's back. Mia, is it Mia Aguilar? Mia, San Francisco is in a bubble, and we're actually, I forget who it was, but somebody was talking about the difference between an epistemic bubble and an echo chamber. Where if you're in an epistemic bubble, then you tend to listen to the people who are around you. So if you're listening to this, you listen to if you listen to Tim Pool and Peter Boghossian and Steven Crowder and stuff like that, you're going to have a certain type of worldview. But if you see something that conflicts with that, you're like, oh, okay, here's the new information. Now I understand. But if you're in an echo chamber, then anything that is outside of that echo chamber automatically is wrong because it's not on your team. And so San Francisco, I think, is a little bit more than a bubble, unfortunately.
Say that person's gender identity.
No, this is Melbourne, Australia.
How they feel is woman, but their sex is, would you also say woman if they want to be a woman?
Are we still talking about the botched surgery?
Or just my question to you would be, what's their sex in that?
What's their sex in that case?
In the botched surgery case?
In the botched surgery case? Yeah.
The same as it was before the surgery, because a surgery does not change your biology, as you just said.
Yeah.
In a botched surgery, they feel like a woman. They want to appear more like the typical.
They feel like a woman and they want to appear more like the typical woman.
Yeah, like a woman.
But the surgery hasn't gone to plan. Does that still, what is their sex in your eyes?
Yeah, Martian Overlord says, that's why I listen to NPR and the conservative talk stations. Got to hear all the flavors of BS. You definitely want to understand what other people are thinking. And that's exactly what we are doing here. Opus said, if gender is a construct, you only need surgery to show you've made an effort. So virtue signaling?
Bingo.
Yup.
It's up to them.
So it's up to them. So people can not only just, so if you feel female, you're female. If you feel female, you're a woman.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, this is where I think it's important to retain the distinction between how someone feels and whether they might feel, Melinda, back to what you were saying around the stereotypes that we might have for like the typical biological male and the typical biological female.
So again, remember, we already know all of this. What we're looking for is how the women react to hearing this information the first time, hearing the logic laid out for the first time, because they're just not familiar with this line of thinking.
Which we might call like a social construct or a stereotype. That's where I would say, you might say that you're a biological male, or I would describe someone. Let's say there's a biological male who has XY chromosomes and has a penis. Their sex would be male, but they might fit more neatly or feel like they fit more neatly into a more feminine or female typical stereotype. And I don't know whether you might say their gender is feminine, but that's why I'd still keep that distinction of it's a biological male who's presenting with more, or who feels like they align with more female typical expressions or interests.
So that's a pretty standard. We want to see what do normal people who are not paying attention to this kind of stuff and just, taking in the peripherally this type of stuff, when it's actually laid out, what do they think of that?
I have a question. Is there any way to test whether or not someone is a male or female?
Yes.
Is there any way to test whether someone is a male or female?
Great question.
Currently, I believe so, because we arbitrarily assign these hormones.
Do we though? Can't pull up the comments, Mike. I apologize, but welcome to the party. Mike W says a lot of liberal atheists. Why we got to bring atheists into it? A lot of liberals agree with this stuff. I think their argument should be the same as they use against religion. I'm right here. It is. Why are we talking about that? That's literally my whole channel is using the same logic against this BS against religion. So I agree with you 100%. Well, I don't know why we have to bring atheists into it. Opus said, the older I get, the more I lean toward just taking the easier position. A man is a man, a woman is a woman. So much easier to keep it straight. No pun intended. Yeah, I think that it's become more complicated because people are looking for a way to victimize themselves. They have to be in a protected class. They have to be a minority, and they just don't have anything. So they made up all of this. Peter Goshen says, thank you, sir, for the awesome content and for stopping by. Mia says, since Sunshine Acid, I feel people have started thinking. Since Acid, I feel people have started thinking different. Well, facts. But if it led to this, as much as I love Acid, I don't know if this is the best thing. Martian Overlord says, I have my own mythology now. It's wonderful. And I suggest that for everybody, whether it overlaps 98% with Christianity, then fine, but go your own way. Go your own way. Figure this stuff out on your own. Don't just assume that because whether it's the Bible or whether it's the government, they said, this is what is good. That doesn't mean that that's what is good.
Define you as male.
Is there any way to test whether someone is a male or female?
Yeah, I would agree with Melinda.
Looking at the Bible.
And so if the test comes out as that they are male and they've had the surgery by Michelangelo of vaginas and they wear dresses, they present in their gender as female, but the test comes out as male, are they male or female?
Female.
But then if you say female, there wouldn't be a way to test whether they're male or female.
Exactly.
I mean, we don't really have to test. Just
That's not the question. The question is whether or not we can. And that's what I'm saying. These people have just not thought this before. And it's okay. Not everybody has to have their nose dug into these issues or any given issue. But it's important that not only do we have the I don't know if the rhetoric is the right word, but the rhetoric to combat that, but also to be willing to say, hey, you know what, even though you're definitely wrong about this and I'm definitely right about this, it doesn't mean that I'm better than you. It's just like, hey, here's some information that you didn't know before. All right, fine, Mike. All right. Well, we'll stay on the same team. Mia says Macintosh, Apple, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, all San Francisco. Communication is key. Well, they certainly have fallen since those days. What's the last good thing that's come out of San Francisco? I don't know. Obis said, positing a theory based on a 0.03% anomaly, being intersex, is the worst form of science I have ever seen. But you're supposed to trust the science, bro. Come on, you know this. It's the science, so trust it.
whatever they feel they want to be, in my opinion.
So now I'm confused. Now I'm confused. So
I'm just saying, well, why is there a reason for you to need to test? Why do you need to know?
So now we're going to, why do you even care what's in people's pants? This is the same thing that Lance from the Surfs was doing on the Culture War when they were talking about, whoa, why do you even care about this? That's weird that you would care what's in somebody's pants. Because you're trying to push this stuff on children. That's why. That's an emotional appeal that is straight up BS.
What somebody,
Sweet. Okay, this is where it seems like I think it's important to retain that distinction between biological sex and what some people might say is gender identity or gender expression. But it sounds like, Claire, that why test? How is it relevant? Why is it important? That's where I wonder whether this is another question that we do, but I see implications
Aha! I figured it out. All right, so I got the I'm a genius. So I got the comments here, and we're gonna use it there. Awesome. All right. Let's back that up a second.
Why is it important? That's where I wonder whether this is another question that we do, but I see implications for example, treating gender dysphoria. What's the appropriate treatment? Is it biological or anatomical or physiological, surgical, etc., or is it psychological? Is it some kind of therapy?
What if a friend of mine's a physician, and she was telling me somebody came in with stomach pains, and she's trying to figure out what the stomach pains are. It turned out the person wrote M on their mail, on their identity when they came in, and it turns out the person was pregnant.
I think this is part of the trickiness of.
I think that was Crowder who did that, right? He was he went in dressed up like a woman to a Planned Parenthood and said that he was pregnant, which I forget what it is, but it's something serious. Like if you're a man and you pee on a pregnancy test and it comes back with anything, that's not good. That's really not good.
This is that words that we used to use to denote biological sex are now being used to denote what we might say gender identity or gender expression. So it's and that, yeah, I think that's part of the root of confusion. So for example, when you sign up for Facebook, a new Facebook account, it'll ask you for your gender, but it'll say male or female, which are typically terms that we've used to denote biological sex. So, and then when we look on our IDs, should it say our biological sex? And if so, what is that? Right? So if it is
Defining
XX or
terms.
XY chromosomes, or is it your anatomy, or is it also your hormones? I think all of that has implications, say, for how do we treat an instance of gender dysphoria. I would also say for spaces where we've had traditionally female-only safe spaces, whether it be, say, separating biological males and biological females in prisons, whether we're separating
Athletics, maybe.
Yep.
athletics.
And so that again is something that these women probably have not really thought about. That especially as women, you would expect that they would have a sensitivity to, hey, we need women's spaces. We need women's spaces. And by treating trans women as women across the board, you are erasing women's spaces. And then we see this semantic obfuscation with menstruation havers and womb havers and bleeders and chest feeders and stuff like that. Mia says, you're great for opening up and keeping up the conversation. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. So obviously it's only coming up one comment at a time. So I'm bouncing in and out. I'm doing my best, guys.
Sports,
Rape,
beauty pageants, domestic shelters, domestic abuse shelters of some sort. So, and when we start blurring the lines with respect to what do I mean when I say male or female, and what do you mean when you say male or female, then it gets iffy about how do we, those traditionally biological female only safe spaces or competitions, if female isn't XX chromosome,
Exactly.
then do we let someone who has has XY?
Right. Do we let people who would, under this new idea of men and women and gender, would we allow that? Opus is saying, no. That is where he's wrong. Traditionally, gender is a term used exclusively in language and literature, not to describe biology in real life. Sex is for people and animals. Gender is for language and literature. I like that. I like that a lot. Martian Overlord is saying, every time I hear what is a woman, I can't help but hear Mike Myers from So I Married an Axe Murderer. I mean, it's it's a silly thing that we have such a hard time with understanding this. But it shows you exactly how silly it is. It shows you exactly how important it is that we stay grounded in reality, and how easy it is to fall away from reality.
My chromosomes, in my eyes, would be a biological male, but who's removed their penis surgically or altered their hormones. Are they then allowed into those spaces or allowed into those competitions, and the implications of that?
Do you buy his argument that the test would matter? Is that, well, first of all, I should say, is that your argument? Is your argument that there is a reason that we want to test?
I suppose so. Yes, I think there's an important distinction to be made between biological males XY chromosomes and biological females XX chromosomes, and that has implications in sporting categories and safe spaces.
And if you guys could just wait for talking to him, because he needs to respond to what they say. Do you buy his argument that there's a reason for a test and there's a reason to know?
It's very simple. Again, as I think it was Opus was saying it, or Martian Overlord, one of you guys, and I know we all agree that keep it simple. There's the reason that we have men and women's sports, the reason we have men and women's bathrooms, as Tim Pool likes to say, is not because sometimes men wear dresses. And as you guys have been bringing up about who was it? I'm all over the place here. Whoever's talking about language. Opus. So Opus was saying, that it is for language, and that's absolutely right. It's not meant to describe anything but that. It's only meant to be tied to the biology of the person. So let's see. Yeah. Oh, really? No, this isn't working either. Come on, baby. All right. Well, I'm going to read them out. I appreciate you guys for being here. I don't know why it's not letting me pull them up, but I'm doing my best here. Indie Film says, G. Gordon Liddy used to say the same thing about gender being to do with language and sex being biology. Yeah, I'd never heard that before, actually. And it's obviously spot on and kind of frustrating that I haven't heard that before.
Sir, could you just wait? Sir, he needs to listen to respond to
Told you keep an eye on him.
the argument. So if you'd wait, that would be great.
I think that there's...
Sir, we're trying to have a civil...
on transphobic bullshit.
Well, you're welcome to play the game next time, but right now we're...
This isn't a game. This is just authorizing bullshit transphobia.
How dare you?
That's that. That's what that is. Shout out to Melted Mind Media. I wish I could pull this up, and then Morty's probably not even going to come out from his hiding spot. What do you want a treat? All right, well, he still earns it. Thank you, Melted Mind Media, for the $2 super chat going right in Morty's bed. Thank you. Actually, wait, let me see if it'll let me do this. Nope. Says, excuse me, sir, your virtue signal, your virtue is showing. Exactly. And like I said, I was telling you guys to look out for him at the beginning of this, and that was 29 minutes of content ago. He's just been hovering. He's just, what's going on here? This is BS. And of course, you know, the offer was there. Hey, you can play next. If you want to have a conversation, we can have a conversation. But no, I want to yell and scream and tell you, I know I'm right and you're bad because you don't believe what I believe. Whose minds are you changing? If anybody is just coming to see this conversation, who are they going to think is the bigot? And who are they going to think is the Christ-like person? The one who's yelling and screaming? Or all the people who are standing around having a civil conversation?
Okay, so I know you feel that way.
They are human beings. They are not what this piece
Who
of
said they weren't human beings?
shit is presenting them as.
Okay, so you're welcome.
Body bits and stuff.
Okay, so
All our people.
okay, so you're welcome to engage in civil
By the
conversation.
way, in Victoria,
Uh-huh.
you are allowed to change your
Okay,
gender identity on
So,
your birth certificate.
what you're trying to do right now, what you're trying to
Shout out again to Melted Mind Media, the sponsor of the stream. Martian Overlord says civilization needs civilized people. Facts. Mia says, if that's okay if I call you Mia, if it's not, let me know. Says if it's about sports, then just start a new category and let those that want to compete with trans challenge each other with the opposite genders. I completely agree with that. I don't see why there is an issue with that. I understand that if you're a trans person, you would want to be, you know, in the ranks of the actual sports. But again, I would love to be at the top of the NBA, but it ain't gonna happen. Sometimes you just have to realize that what you want doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how badly you want to change your sex. You cannot. You can change your gender identity. You can change your clothes. You can change your hair. You can cut off pieces of your body. You can do all of that. But you cannot change your sex. I'm sorry.
do is destroy other people's freedom of speech and freedom of expression and freedom of communication.
Get him! Oh, wait. We need to see this in full.
So what you're trying to do right now,
Get
what you're
him!
trying to do is destroy other people's freedom of speech and freedom of expression and freedom of communication.
Yup.
That's what you're.
How am I destroying anybody?
By holding a conversation, you are stopping everybody from having conversations.
What?
Freedom of speech.
Let women speak. Yeah.
Oh,
Okay,
there
good.
we
You
go.
just Hitler saluted. Good. That's going to go out. That's going to be great.
Got him!
That's it.
Do you have anything to add to that? Sorry, we were distracted. Apologies.
I think it's a lot more
By that
nuanced
bigot.
than that. I think you kind of got to bring into biology, anatomy, and the social construct. I'm not quite sure whether. I think it's possible, and I think it will definitely be possible in years to come that you can change your gender.
What do you?
Whoa. It already is possible to change your gender according to your rules. We already can do that. We are still. Right? Have we changed? Okay, this conversation continues, but we still haven't gone to a new prompt. We are still on. Oh no, they went to gender. I don't think so. Right? He didn't put up another one. Yeah, one can change their sex. We're still on one can change their sex. We're not talking about that. You already agree that trans people exist. And not only exist as they are, exist as human beings who are human beings, but exist in the way that they believe themselves to exist. Nobody's talking right now about whether or not you can change your gender. It's a complicated thing, guys. And I'm not, coming down on her for getting this mixed up. You guys saw that I mix this stuff up all the time. But you have to be humble. You have to have the humility to understand what you don't know. Otherwise, you'll never learn.
What do you think about that?
Sorry.
Oh, your sex. I was just going to ask because you can
Okay.
change your
All right. Fair enough. Fair enough. She corrected herself.
gender anytime you
Yeah.
I don't think. Okay, if we're talking about going to the
I want
doctors
to try something.
and you have something wrong, I think it's important to specify if you have changed your anatomy into that of a female and you were originally assigned man at birth. I think it's important to specify
How do we feel about
to
that?
a doctor. Otherwise, I feel no reason for them to specify what they were assigned at birth.
Is there a difference between being assigned versus observed?
The difference between sex being assigned versus observed. That is exactly the question that we have been waiting to answer. Because remember, the original prompt was that sex is assigned, and as we predicted, that it was going to be a little bit difficult to determine what do you mean by assigned. So now we are saying, having the exact question: is there a difference between being assigned versus being observed?
Yes.
What's the difference? Tell him.
Sex is assigned at birth by a doctor when they see your anatomy.
Parts.
Yeah.
Your parts.
Being observed, it's up to the person, and that comes down to gender identity. It's up to the person whether they want to identify as a female or a man. If you're talking about
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, here we
Curious,
go.
and correct me if I'm wrong.
Oh, I thought it was the other guy coming back in. Like, come on, bro, just let him have the conversation, please.
That we would find common ground that your gender identity or how you feel, that's one thing. But when it comes to your sex, and maybe this is where you would say your sex assigned at birth, it's important that the doctor know that so as to give you appropriate treatment. What I'm curious as to, like, let's say we had a sporting competition.
Can I pause you for a second?
Yeah, sure.
Can you identify out of your sex?
Can you identify outside of your sex? No, of course not. Your sex is your sex. So we expect her to say yes. Because if she says no, then she's talking out of both sides of her mouth. Melted said, this time he will come back in full German garb. Who? What? What did I miss? What did I miss? Ovis said, I'm going to take up smoking again, but identify as a non-smoker. Mike said, Kindergarten Cop made it so simple. Boys have penises, girls have vaginas. Yeah. And what year is that movie from? Like 94? If that, probably earlier. I mean, this is what the media can do. This is what the media can do to people, is to scramble their brains. It was literally a kindergartner in that movie. And now we have grown adults all throughout the society, all throughout the world. We're in Australia, who can't get that basic idea down. What is going on? Mia said, it's got weird as, oh my God, these things. Okay. It's got weird as a man when you love all women and all women love you. Well, all women don't love me, so I don't know what that's like. Reality, Opus says, reality doesn't give an ish if what is in your head matches. Dude, what? I don't know what you guys are talking about. I'm definitely down for a Kindergarten Cop movie night, though. Definitely join the Indian Jesus Discord server where the party never ends. That's right, 24/7 we're in there hanging out. And after every single live stream, just like right now, we are going to an after party where you're not stuck behind your keyboard. You're actually on screen with me and everybody else. It's a grand old time. You can come up if you want to. You don't have to. Either way, come and join us.
as in you were assigned
Yes.
male at birth, you changed to a female.
Yes. Can you identify out of your sex?
Yeah.
Can you identify out of your sex?
Yes.
Oh, there we go.
Can you identify out of your gender?
Yes.
You can identify out of your gender.
Yeah.
Can you identify?
Take photos. Fucking dog.
Can you
This guy
identify
again.
out of your sex?
No. Liam,
Man, you're all being filmed.
He's allowed to take photos. He's allowed to take photos. You can stand.
And this is what happens, guys. This is why these women don't understand. This is why these women don't understand. It's not their fault. It's people like old ponytail dude, who I'm sure was a raging hippie. Who else would have hair like that in 2024, 2023? I'm sure. He was all about free speech, stick it to the man. And now he's riding for the establishment. What happened? What happened? Hippies, I mean, you failed. You failed.
It's a public space. It's
Just stand. Yeah, guys, don't cause trouble. Can you identify out of your sex? I would say no, because I would say that sex is it's an objective measurement, I suppose. Where you either have XX chromosomes, XY chromosomes, or you have some abnormality that might place you in that intersex category. So I would say no, you can't identify out of your sex.
But until you're tested, you don't know that.
Actually, we do know that. Like, what is it? What is it? And what information do you have that lets you think that we need a test to determine whether or not someone is male or female? Aside from the intersex people, what is the difference there? Shout out to whoever's on Facebook. Welcome to the party. My comments are not working, so I'm not able to pull them up. So I apologize if you are commenting. It's not working, but it usually does. Imelda My Media said, can they identify out of their species? That would be an interesting question. Oba said, all this sexual nonsense is from the hippies. Ah, there you go. That's what I'm missing. It's from the hippies. They're the ones that started it. They weren't really the hippies that they claimed to be. They just had a new veneer of authoritarianism.
So you can still have the anatomy of a male or female, but
until you're tested.
until they define what your hormones predominantly.
And if you were tested, would you accept the results of the test as the standard by which we would make a judgment?
Yes, but it doesn't mean anything to me.
So if you
it doesn't mean anything to me. It's all about me. Is it really about you? It's not about you. Oh my goodness. Martian Overlord said, just if your style determines your sex, gender, whatever, then would nudity mean asexuality? That's a great question. And I would love to hear an answer to that from one of these people. Mia says, what's the difference between gays and lesbians and transgender changing their gender? Well, if you're asking genuinely, then, you know, the gay or lesbian is who you're attracted to, and the transition people are what you present or identify as. But all the same to me.
If you're tested,
not all the same, but you know what I mean.
If there's a test that we can determine biological male from female, and you're tested as male, then you can't self-identify, or can you still self-identify if the results of a test show that you're male and you were born with a penis?
Great question. Now we're getting back to reality. Based on her terms, there is a test, and now we're testing, and the test says you are male. So now, can you identify as a woman, and can you identify as a female?
Can you still self-identify as a woman?
Yes.
Yeah.
Can I?
Then what's the point of any of this? If it's always just about what you feel, then it goes nowhere. So I'm hoping that Richard from Common Ground Conversations here is going to, you know, start kind of pushing a little bit more. Because a lot of time, and I appreciate understanding, wanting to understand the people you're talking to. But it's frustrating that he's kind of just, oh, so your position is this and your position is that. And maybe it's, you know, the fact that he's there representing his channel. But what I really love about these street epistemology episodes is that it's not people who are, you know, trying to push an agenda. It's people genuinely expressing themselves. And so if you're going to wear a big sign that's talking about gender, why are you not being a little bit more like, come on, well, how come this? How come that? How come that? Like, Give it to him.
Can I jump in there? So
Jump in, brother. Jump
is there
in.
a difference between the terms man and woman and male and female? So if there's a test to distinguish between male, female in terms of biology, but that someone would still be able to identify as man or woman irrespective of their underlying biology. Is that what? Okay.
Mhm. Yeah, so let's get to some comments here. Opus says there are observable traits of XY and observable traits of XX that 99% of all people have. Traits that don't require tests, which is why this is a ridiculous line of questioning. But they brought us here. Why? Not because they're willing or because they're not willing to say, I don't know the answer to this question. I don't, my line of thinking doesn't seem to be making sense here. So let me ask what you think. Let me learn something. They're still in the position of, no, well, I think this because that they're at no point has it clicked to be like, oh, maybe I don't really know. Maybe I should find out what he thinks. At no point. Daniel said that other kin do exist. I mean, do they? Yeah, that's a whole other thing. The other kin is when you're like dragon self or fairy self or any of that stuff.
That's what you mean?
Yes. Yeah. But I also think you can, regardless of your biology and hormones, I don't know, that this is where it gets.
She said it. I don't know. Thank you. Finally, honesty, humility, self-awareness.
It's very complicated for me, but I still think you can.
It's very complicated for all of us. That's why we're having this conversation. I'm glad you're realizing that it's not as simple as you want to make it seem. In fact, it's as simple as we want to make it seem.
And identify.
Is it complicated and
female.
is it complicated enough for you to move to the neutral, or are you satisfied with where you are? Are you satisfied where you are? Are you satisfied with the line? Are you satisfied with the line you're on?
Yeah, I'm still on strongly disagree.
Okay.
Mhm.
I believe. Yeah.
And yes, Melty, I do know an expert in furry stuff. Definitely not myself, but we should definitely ask Frosttown what he thinks about all this.
still think that sex and gender are different. That was the original.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I also just want to briefly ask Melinda. So when you said something like, I don't want to put words in your mouth. I think you said.
Put words in her mouth, bro. Let her correct you. This is the kind of the issue that, like, to shout out to Chester, where a lot of times when Chester and I are talking, there is a lot of we'll get heated and there'll be a lot of disagreement because we're trying to do what Richard, this guy's doing, and understand the message, but he's so afraid to mischaracterize their position. Like, they're right there. If you get something wrong, then they'll correct you. What is your point? You strongly disagree, but you haven't said what you actually think.
Said something like, you could have a test that can verify biological male or biological female, but what does it mean, right? Like, what are the implications? And that's where I would point to, again, treating gender dysphoria and also traditionally female-only safe spaces. So, I mean, even something like a change room. Let's say we were in a public spa facility of some sort. Should biological females have the option of a female-only change room?
That's a great way to put it. Instead of asking whether the trans man should be allowed into the women's bathroom, the question is, should biological females have the option of a female-only change room? I love that question. Where are we? Indie Film says it's not complicated at all. No one can go from male to female or vice versa. Opus says, I think most furries realize there is a fantasy roleplay element. For the most part, yes. That's from what I understand, most people are like, yeah, dude, it's a costume. We're playing around. And there might be an aspect of sexuality to it, which again, I find weird, but I'm happy that you can, if I had something weird, I would definitely want to be able to explore that in an appropriate way, obviously. I happen to be pretty vanilla in the bedroom and, whatever. But I would love to be able, if I had something weird, that I would love to be I love that. We live in a world where I'd be able to explore that. But absolutely right. And Martian agrees. Yeah, that is why they wear the suits. Opus goes on to say, I think most furries are just an online identity and don't even wear the suits. That's definitely a question we need to ask Frosttown. because for those of you who don't know, we just did a history / why are we in Ukraine stream with our friend Frosthound, who is a verified furry. But he is a pretty rational dude. So I would love to have that conversation with him. But again, to this amazing question, should biological females have the option? Because if you ask it with a trans man allowed to be in the woman's bathroom, they're gonna say, yeah, of course, whatever you feel. But now you're putting it back in their perspective. Because if you guys remember, I forget I don't know the names of spa chains, but a couple years ago, there was a video that went viral of a woman being like, there's a guy in there. I'm here with my young daughter, and his penis is slut. And they're like, well, unfortunately, that's our policy, and we can't do anything about it. And like, this is okay to you? This is okay to you? And people, it's split the internet. And it did not go well. Shout out to Ayush. Welcome to the party. Unfortunately, StreamYard is screwing with me, not letting me pull up the comments. That is why I have y'all up here. But Ayush says, you're asking for logic where none exists. It's all been feelings-based. People have been giving so much leeway to let people live in their delusions just to not offend their world views. Yep. And how has that worked out? Are the self-deletion rates any lower? Are there other people who are getting caught up in this BS and creating more mental health issues? So maybe this isn't the best way to go. Mia says, Andrew Tate pretended to be female to screw men out of their money, thinking it was thinking they were sheep. Yeah, I mean, facts. He did do that. That's why you shouldn't be spending money simping on women, because it might be Andrew Tate. We spa? Is that what it is? Whatever. But you guys know. You know.
Or I mean, we might even go to and perhaps an easier discussion would be.
No, just let that question out there. That's a great question.
Let's say we have a sporting category. Is it meaningful to have a test that delineates between biological male and biological female so we can have fair and safe sports?
He just undercut his own point, because now you're talking about that was a very pointed question that it would achieve exactly what you're trying to do, to get them to see it from the perspective of not what do we want for them? What do I want for me? Do I want all of my female spaces being taken away? That's disappointing.
Between us.
Did you say, is it
Meaningful. Should we?
Oh,
did you want it? I'm going to go to her, okay? I'm going to her.
Fair and safe would be allowing them to be in a female category because they identify as a female. And
See? Very easy to just go right over the question that actually matters and be like, well, you identify, so you do what you think you feel like.
that is what they want. To be recognized as a female.
Is it fair and safe for biological?
Oh, hold on.
I would just say, is it fair and safe for biological females?
Yeah.
I would feel completely safe.
Do you think that
Like they are in Australia, but I feel you.
there are physical advantages men have biological males? Biological males. Are there physical advantages biological males have over biological females?
Obviously. Sometimes. Never a straight answer. Never.
Sometimes women can work 10 times harder than a man and be way better.
Come on.
They're just, we're just different.
On average, are men
There you
stronger than
go.
women?
She knows it. And that, again, this is the sad part of all of this, is that she knows. She might be confused about the actual trans stuff because she hasn't really thought about it. But she knows that men are stronger than women on average. But she knows she has to think about, am I supposed to say this?
Are we talking like strength?
I don't know, bench press, whatever
Yes.
metric you want to use.
I suppose, yeah.
Okay, there we go.
Wait a second. Oh, I'm sorry. And if they are, would that confer an unfair advantage to biological men who went into women's categories? Would that confer an unfair advantage on them?
No. They're a woman. They should be allowed to be in there.
Okay.
Are they though? Let's get Mike says the English can be too polite to for debate, and I will actually disagree with that. If you ever seen Christopher Hitchens, and they're actually, speaking of Peter Boghossian, he just did 2 different podcasts with Richard Dawkins, who I saw live in, where was it? It was somewhere in New York, and the British can get it in, if you know what I mean. Daniel says, you can always use the language to set a trap as easily as you can use non-pointed question. It's all on how you use your verbiage, also known on this channel as semantic obfuscation. Mia said, Australia is doomed. Well, I don't know. Is this representative of what the average person thinks? Because if so, maybe. Is this representative of what the average American thinks? I'd be curious to see, like, in America, this is like the hot button issue. Everybody's always talking about trans stuff. I don't know how much that translates to Australia, but obviously, it is an issue. And I'm curious if the average American person who's not paying attention would have a different perspective than the average Australian who's not paying attention. Who knows?
Okay, I think I understand.
Actually, I'm going to ask Peter that. Oh,
Your
shit.
position.
I almost said something. Opus, you caught it. I almost said something I wasn't supposed to say.
I suppose I would. If that's the case, why separate sports at all? So let's say deadlift, right? So you just have to lift the heaviest weight you possibly can off the ground. My sense is that we've separated biological males and biological females so as to establish a fair competition, because the males have benefited from testosterone. Not just are they benefiting from testosterone right in this moment,
in utero,
the biological male competitors, but they've also benefited from testosterone through their development and the kind of advantages that might confer upon them in a competition of who can lift the heaviest.
And excuse me for asking this question, but I think it's important. Why does it matter if they're at an advantage over biological women?
That's an interesting question. As somebody like these women who are not thinking about, especially if they're not into sports, especially if they've never played sports. A lot of people who are not in sports of any kind think that sports is just for fun. There's no other reason to sports but fun. And so it doesn't matter if it's not fair. So interesting question here. Ayush says, let's put these women in an octagon with Mayweather sometimes. Let's see how that works out. Mia said, I'm getting insecure about your name. So please let me know if you don't like being called Mia, because I'm not very good with pronunciation. But says, I'll bet there is a woman that can drop Mayweather. Sure. A woman. Maybe somewhere. Yeah, Martian Overlord, a woman. But can women? Of course not.
Well, if we don't draw that distinction between biological males and biological females and the advantages that might come with respect to physical strength as a consequence of, say, testosterone throughout development and in the moment, my concern would be that we wouldn't have fair competition for biological females, and that the competitions.
So who cares? We need to be fair to the transes.
Would be dominated by biological males,
who self-identify as women,
who either self-identify as women and then compete in the women's category, or I suppose a question that I would have for you, Claire, is, in your eyes, then, if there isn't really an advantage that males have, why wouldn't we just collapse the categories and have a unisex competition?
We should totally do that. Oh my God, that's a great idea.
I don't know. I'm sure we can.
So you think we should?
It's up to the competitors.
Okay, but the competitors have already spoken fervently about not doing that. How many times has Serena Williams talked about how, people want to say that she's so great, which she is. And then, talk about how she would play against men. And she's like, no. That's like a whole different game. I don't even want to do that. She knows. They know. The people who, this only comes from people who are talking about other people. This comes from cisgendered people who don't play sports.
It's not up to me.
Okay, but we're asking what your opinion is.
Love to see that. I would love to see men and women competing in a friendly environment, obviously, in a friendly and safe environment.
But that's the point. There is no such thing as a safe environment when you are putting males and females in a physical contact sport. That's the point. Opus said these people who say anyone who identifies BS would also be the first to say all men lie. So then what? Can never win. You can never win unless you're a woman.
Do you think that the men would come to dominate those sports?
No, not necessarily.
Why?
If they
How
did
could
come to dominate those sports, would it change your mind?
No.
So what would be the criterion that would change your mind?
There we go.
Change my mind about having a unisex.
Yeah.
Nothing really.
Okay.
How about, people getting their skulls crushed in by biological males, women, biological females getting their skulls crushed in because we can't say, okay, well, for chutes and ladders, yeah, we can definitely have a unisex. But for combat sports, no way, no way. Well, now we're drawing an arbitrary line. I thought they were women. This is what they don't understand. These are the things that we need to keep in our minds when these things come up and not assume that people already understand this. I'm not making fun of her. I'm pointing out the flaw in her thinking, the many flaws in her thinking, and the lack of thinking. I'll definitely keep the conversation going for you. Martian says people who refuse to participate in sport really shouldn't join a mob to change sports. Yeah, that's a good point. You said nothing can change her mind because she ain't got one. Well, it's the shame, insults, guilt, and the need to be right that sign language never stops.
What was the original claim we started with?
Gender and sex are different.
Gender and sex are different. Okay. So he's on the strongly disagree. So I'm going to ask both of you, and then I'm going to ask you, what is the best argument you can give him to move him from strongly disagree to disagree? And then I'm going to ask you, what is the best argument you can give them, not to move to where you are, but to move from the slightly agree to the neutral?
So something I would love to know, Peter, if you're still here. I would have liked, obviously, in hindsight, I would have liked if you had went to, I forget his name already, Richard, to Common Ground and got him to lay out more claims. And then you take those claims to the women instead of trying to have the women make their claims and then the other way around. I think that, in hindsight, that would have probably worked out a little bit better. But just nitpicking.
Everybody got it? What is your best argument you can give him that will move him one line?
Sex can be changed by way of surgery and hormone treatment.
Can it go?
And do you think that will convince him?
It hasn't yet, but
So
Then why are you saying it?
what if it doesn't? Is there another argument you think you could reason him to stepping on one line?
No, because he's just stubborn. He's a man, and because he's a man, he works under the patriarchy, and the patriarchy says that you can't do this. So that. Something along those lines.
no, that's the most basic argument I can give.
All right, well, let me, I'm going to change. I know I said that I was going to do that. And Melinda, hold on. I know I'm going to change my mind.
My mind.
Tell them what it would take you to move to disagree, and let's see if you can provide that.
There we go.
What would it take you to move to disagree?
So let me just clarify. Gender and sex are different, and are the same, and I've said strongly disagree.
So for me, if I was in his shoes and I'm on strongly disagree that someone can change their sex, what I would need to move to even slightly disagree, which again, I don't see why I would move to slightly disagree, because if he got me anywhere, that seems like a binary yes or no question. So I would either go to strongly agree or maybe neutral, of just like, oh, okay, that's a good point. I don't know. So I'll go back to neutral. But point being, The only thing would have to be some type of scientific evidence that chromosomes and gametes can be changed. That's what I would need. Let's see what Rich needs.
I think based on the conversation we've had and based on my understanding of how the two of you define or consider sex, I think what you've walked through and also your conceptions of gender, if I suppose now that I kind of understand your definitions and the way that you're using the terms, I would be willing to move to
Disagree.
I'd be willing to move a little closer to where you're at because I have a better understanding of what you mean by gender and what you mean by sex.
Okay,
So
fair enough.
one, are you willing to move now? And two, what would they have to change about their definition for you to move?
That's a good
Everything.
question.
Oh,
Are you willing to move now?
Yeah, I'm willing to move now. If I were to adopt your definitions of sex and gender, then I would move probably a little closer to the disagree.
Okay.
hold on. Okay. My button is. I got stuff going on. All right. Oh, God damn it. That's exactly what I was trying not to do. Hold on. There we go.
Strongly agree. Strongly disagree.
Okay, so now the question remains for him to move. You have to convince him why your definition is best.
Well, we can change hormonal structures in the body.
Sure.
We can change hormones in the body,
Okay.
which will, sway toward our definition of either male or female. And there's no reason. My initial argument about sporting categories was going to be, why can't we have 3? But that again brings other issues because
Shout out to Melted Mind Media said, if I was dropped on my head as a baby, I would move one step closer to your position. Good one. Good one.
you do with the people who there's going to be people who are strongly female, people who are definitely male, and then
So again, this is a problem with language. You can't be strongly female or weakly female. You can be more or less feminine. You can be more or less masculine, but you can't be more or less male. This is something, as a dog trainer, this is something a concept that I use all the time. So the quick thing when especially like with a new puppy, the whole idea is the easiest thing in the world is if your puppy could speak English, then we just be like, hey, dude, can you just like piss outside and just listen to what I say and I'll keep your life perfect. And be like, all right, works. Sounds like a good deal. But obviously dogs don't speak that way or don't speak English. So the goal of my training is to develop a language. So, just starting with basic commands and stuff. And so the first phase is just the vocabulary stage. Just, okay, getting the dog to understand this is what these words mean. Then you move into the second phase, the ability training phase, getting them better. So now they know what stay means and you want them to get better at it. But once you get into that second phase, you can't teach any more what sit means. You can't teach any more what stay means. The dog either understands what it is being asked or it doesn't. The same thing goes with maleness or femaleness. You either are a female or you are a male or you're an exception. There is no other options. Yeah, exactly, Mike. Mike says you can't be sort of pregnant. Oh, Melty. I like this up here. So I don't have to pull all these up, but you guys are funny. Melty said, if you don't know if it's daddy, then you're just sort of pregnant. Martian Overlord said, understanding comes with respect. I don't think that they are actually listening to him. Nope. Not at all. They have no interest in what he has to say. They have interest in not looking bad. They have interest in presenting themselves the way they want to be seen. And again, this is not to insult them. This is how normal, average people think about this stuff. Hey, I know this is a hot button issue and I just don't really care, so I'm not willing to put myself out there and say something that is going to piss people off. But they don't understand the societal effect that it has and how far-reaching that is. Your weakness, your inability to have the backbone to say, hey, I believe a thing. And especially when it's something so simple that you can say, I know a thing. Even though people are trying to come at you and tell you, no, that's not right. You know. and you listen to their arguments because you might be wrong. But you hear their arguments and they're bad arguments. And you're like, nope, okay, I'm going to stand on my position because I know I'm right. People don't know how to do that. Daniel says, are you telling me they want to be seen as a bunch of people who ride the short bus? No, they would rather be seen as people who ride the short bus than be right wing. I wish I'd prepared for that one a little bit better. Melted Mind Media said, Peter Boghossian, huge respect to you for having these amazing conversations with people. Seconded, thirded, and quadrupled.
People in between, but the people on the edges of the male and female coming toward the middle.
This is, again, the bimodal thing. So let's see if we can bimodal. Come on. So this is what I'm talking about. Open image. So really? So this is what bimodal means. So there's two different things. And again, obviously, if we're talking about gender, we'd have male over here and a female over here. And so in this spot right here, there might be the intersex people. Yes. But there's still only two things that are overlapping. So even if it's bimodal, it's bimodal, not polymodal. Did I just have that? Oh, I wish I had that bigger for you guys. But yeah, I mean, you guys get it, right? Anything I missed? Nope. Let's do it.
Okay.
It's complicated.
So can either of you give him what he's looking for in terms of definitions to move him to the disagree from the strongly disagree? Can you give him that?
To move him from strongly disagree.
Correct.
To disagree.
And it's okay if you can't.
No.
Okay. What is your best argument that you can give? Oh, did you want to?
Just before I give that argument, I would say that if I'm not saying that I think your definitions are the best ones. So
so you mean your definitions are bad? Just say it.
If the claim is like, is their definition the best ones? I would disagree, or strongly.
So you think their definitions are bad?
Disagree. But if the claim is, do I understand your definitions, and are we, like, say for example, gender identity being how you feel, gender expression being, do you align or present in a way that's in alignment with the sex-based stereotypes of masculine and feminine, and then sex, if we're using sex in the conversation to mean your anatomy, or sex to mean your hormonal profile and whether it's more typical male or female, then all of that, that's what would make me come to disagree instead of strongly disagree. That's where I would be able to find some common ground. And I think I think that's why we've been able to have a good conversation, because I do understand those terms. I just don't think that they are quality definitions.
There you go.
In my eyes, because I think that we need to keep that distinction between biological sex based on chromosomes, or perhaps the gametes that you produce, because that has implications for, like I've said, gender dysphoria treatment.
Right. And this is the frustrating part, is that he is clearly knowledgeable about this, but in the same way, it seems like he's also trying to tiptoe around and not offend anybody. The fact is, if this is what they think, then they are going to be offended by the truth. You can either not offend people, or you can tell the truth. You can have both. I wish you could, but you can't. Melton My Media said, I think he's scared that he'll get jumped. I mean, fair enough. There's a lot of people there, but I think they have security. No? I heard Peter was talking to some guy there. No? I don't know. I mean, if that's it, then all right, I'll give him a pass, because there's a lot of people around, and that dude definitely seemed angry. So he can get a pass on that. But are we doing this or not? That's where I fall on this. Ayush says, the division of sex along the lines of reproductive function and take two. The division of sex is along the division of sex is along the lines of reproductive function, and it has been since evolution. There's only two participants in the act for animals. Yeah, it's binary. I mean, yes, he is being respectful. Absolutely, Martian. He's being respectful, but at the cost of really diving into this conversation and getting the message that he wants to get across. You can be so respectful to people by never ever challenging anything that they say. But if you're specifically here to talk about your opinions and have your opinions challenged, then you're doing not only a disservice to them, you're just doing a disservice to yourself. You're doing a disservice to Peter. You're doing a disservice to me by not, having a strong enough, not fostering a strong enough conversation. I mean, Peter's here giving all the right questions. These ladies are here saying all the stuff that you can jump on and dig in, but you're just not. And I mean, if you're not willing to do that, then what are you GoProing? What is the point of the sign? Why even go? Get somebody else who's going to say what they actually think. I know it's hard. We were supposed to have a guest today, and they're like, "Oh, I'm, I don't do video." It's like, bro, it's YouTube. What do you mean you don't do video? That's what it is. Melton My Media said, "This ain't no Kia Senat Kia Senat giveaway. They have security." Oh, they took me a second. Kai, isn't it Kai? Is that the name? Right? You got me mixed up. Dana says, for most animals, there are some, none of which are mammals. At least not to my knowledge. No, yes, mammals are binary in their sex. If you want to say bimodal, including the exceptions, fine. But mammals are binary in their sex.
Treatment and also sporting categories.
Okay. Now I told you I'm going to ask you, and now I'm going to ask you.
Yes.
For you to move to disagree, what would you have to hear from them? And now I'm going to ask you if you can give him what he's looking for. What do you need for you to move one line?
All right, guys, real quick. So we're coming up near the end of this video. I have another one queued up. If you would like to, keep going, you know how to keep the party going.
Gender and sex.
I'm actually gonna run that.
What would you have to hear from them? And now I'm going to ask you if you can give him what he's looking for. What do you need for you to move one line?
Gender and sex are different.
Well, gender and sex are different. What do they have to tell you to move just to disagree?
I think they've already actually told me what I need to hear to move to disagree.
Okay.
So I'm as long as it's clear that I'm not saying I think your definitions of gender and sex are the best ones, because I think that defining them the way that you've defined them has implications with regard to those sporting categories and whatnot.
But I'm very curious as to what anybody said that would move you at all on the notion that you can change your sex.
But I do understand the definitions that you've provided, and if they are the definitions that we're running with, I would say that they are. I disagree that they're different, but perhaps I disagree less strongly. So I would be willing to come to the disagree.
Okay, you're willing to go to the disagree. Okay, so stand actually on the disagree. Are you willing to go to the neutral? Okay, a few more things, and then we'll wrap it up.
She said no?
I give them the argument. So or perhaps could you ask them what they would need to hear from me to move you?
That's what I was going to do.
Oh, okay,
a few more things. Okay.
Yeah, but we already asked that. And she said, no, nothing. This is what I think. This is what I believe. That's as simple as I can put it. If you think you're a woman, then you deserve to get whatever, women, other real women deserve.
What would you need to hear from him to move you to neutral?
I would need to hear that hormonal levels cannot be changed to fit into our current standards or definitions of distinctly male or distinctly female.
Did you hear that?
Yeah, but I'm not sure I quite understand.
Could you repeat?
Rather than just anatomical and the XY, I'd need to know that our hormone levels could not actually be changed to be more predominantly female or male.
Okay, but if the inverse of that then means that if you're just a regular person, cisgendered, whatever, and you happen to have a hormone imbalance, and you happen to have a hormone profile that is closer to the opposite sex, by her definition, then you are that sex. If that's how we're measuring it, based on what are your hormone levels, if that's the measure, then anybody who has a hormonal abnormality is transgender. And nobody who doesn't is, which of course is not the case. I mean, come on. Daniel said, I think he's just trying to show her how to debate in good faith. I mean, you guys are being easy on him. Fair enough. I mean, maybe I'm just looking for more, but I think he's just not. I think he's not really serving the purpose. I think there's a difference between being bad faith and engaging the conversation to actually get to the bottom, actually get to the points. I don't think you need to be soft in order to be in good faith. But you guys definitely know that about me. You said by definition, they have to be different. Sex has to be kept absolute so that you can define the gender relative to the sex. True. Hope said, leave it to a woman to think that hormones are the most important thing. Good one, good one, good one. He says, if I can change my sex and my gender, then where did I end up? They're both relative now. Yep. Martian Overlord said, we call it sex because sexual procreation and sexual designation are too long to say and will look good at the same time. Yeah, but I don't think that changes anything about their positions. I think they agree with what you're saying, but despite the fact that that's true, they think you can still change that sexual designation or that sexual procreation. That's what they're saying.
Right,
Distinctly.
And that's because you're operating off the definition of sex being based on your hormonal profile. Okay. Yeah.
So it's a definitions thing.
Yeah, it's a difference in definitions. Yeah.
What do you have to say to move him one line? Move him one line. What do you got?
Move him one line.
Yeah, to slightly agree.
Better definitions. So if you were listening, then it's about your definitions. So what you need to do is then think about, okay, what do I mean when I say sex? What do I mean when I say gender? What do I mean when I say gender identity or gender expression? All these things. And how do I differentiate? Because that's his holdup right now is the definitions. So let me redefine the terms and I win.
I don't know.
Okay, a few final things and we'll wrap it up. Anything else you want to tell him before we wrap it up?
I honestly don't believe that sex and gender are completely separated at all.
Okay, well, you seem to have spent the last hour and a half arguing the opposite, but okay, cool.
Ever, because no matter what sex you were assigned at birth, you can identify as a different gender and you should be able to live your life as that gender.
And you agree with that? You agree that you can identify as any gender you want and you can live your issue, just my understanding, is sex.
Well, I suppose
yes,
I would say
yes.
Depends what you mean by gender and what you mean by sex. If sex is your biological XX or XY chromosomes, and if gender is gender identity or how you feel, yeah, I suppose so. It's a definitional problem. Yeah.
I'm an 85-year-old grandpa.
Yeah, Grandpa. Great. Can you hold on, Grandpa?
This
hold
guy.
on. Yeah.
What is it with the old people? What is it with the old people? I thought the old ones were like, oh, these damn kids, they don't know how to have a civil conversation. They're just yelling all over each other. But yeah, in this video, it's been two old dudes. What is going on? What is happening?
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I'd be interested to see in 20 years' time where we are along the...
What do you predict?
Yeah, what do you predict? Because I see a lot of people. First of all, I see a lot of self-deletion. Excuse me. I see a lot of self-deletion. I see a lot of detransition. I see a lot of regret. And I see a lot of depression over the realization that you were... I don't even know what the word is. That you were conned, that you were brainwashed into thinking that this was a viable line of thinking. That's my prediction. Probably going to say something different, though.
I think that with science, that maybe in anywhere between 20 and 50 years' time, we will be able to change
Okay.
Based on what, though? What is it that you are changing? What is the thing that would change that would be that would satisfy the definition of this is now this is a male who is now a female? What does that mean? What is the actual practical manifestation of that? This is hysteria. This is sign language at its finest, people.
Final question. What
Final
line do you think I'd
question.
be on?
Ooh, what line do I mean, I'm pretty sure he would be on strongly disagree. He'd definitely be on the disagree side, but
neutral.
What line do you think I'd be on?
and if they both say that, then that is proof that Peter is doing an amazing job at this. If they all think he would be neutral, clearly he's not neutral. He wouldn't be doing this if he didn't care. No, you know what I mean.
Strongly disagree.
What line do you think I'd be on?
I think disagree.
What line do you think I'd be on?
Disagree.
Strongly disagree.
All right, thank you for playing. Was that fun? Yeah. Do you agree with him, but do you understand his position? Not agree, but you understand.
I do.
Do you understand more now than when we started playing?
No.
Do you understand their position?
Yeah. I think I understand it.
Do you understand more now than when we started?
I think so.
All right,
Yeah.
cool. Thanks, everybody.
So the person who was open to listening to what was going on, even though not much came his way, he learned a little something. But the people who were there to be right instead of have a conversation not only didn't say anything of value, but didn't learn anything either. I mean, that's a perfect example of what is going on. I mean, that's a microcosm of the entire country. There's more people who don't know jack shit than there are people who know. And the people who don't know jack shit all group themselves together and act like they know shit to gaslight the people who actually know shit into thinking, maybe I don't know this shit. When in fact, we do know this shit. Who are the bigots again? The people. I don't know. I don't know. I just took that from the title here. You can see. Oh, well, maybe you can. Yeah, biology is for bigots. That is where I took that from. But I mean, it's a really stark and what's the opposite of refreshing? It's a stark realization. There are still very many people who would be exactly where those women were. And I'm not saying that they're bad people in any way, shape, or form. That is the opposite of my message, is that they are likely, nice people who just have lives and don't pay attention to this stuff. Unlike us, who are losers and just sit around thinking about this stuff all day. And that's the problem, is that people don't pay attention. And we who do pay attention try to talk to those people as if they do pay attention. And so we have to learn to meet people where they are. And so maybe if we're to give Richie here, if we're to give him some grace, maybe that is more, somebody did say it, maybe he's trying to be in good faith and everything. Maybe he's trying to show that, the people who are on this side of the debate are not inherently bigoted. But I don't know that it does a service to especially the children who are being transes. It's not helping them to be nice to the people who are pushing this, because at the end of the day, what they are pushing is heinous, is insidious, and it's not just going to affect the people that get these surgeries, that take these hormones. It's going to be their families. It's going to be their children, if they have any already, because they certainly ain't having any more. And it's just not good. So I wish I had an answer for you as to how to change those people. But the best I can do right now is to make sure that when you are that when you are in these situations, to learn from what Rich was doing and make sure that you're not being combative, but also see what he did wrong and maybe didn't really get anything across by trying to be too nice. That's how I see it. Obus says, and we can see which side that was in this case. It's obvious to see when you know what to look for, but not a lot of people know what to look for. And if we don't show them, it will stay that way. Or it will get worse, and the automatic trigger of "you're a bigot" if you don't agree with me is only going to get worse. So thank you so much for hanging out with me, guys. I can't pull up, but shout out to Melted Mind Media, the sponsor of the stream. Let me drop his link one more time. Please do me a favor, go over and give him a view on that video. I got age restricted. If you haven't seen the new Stickman, you definitely want to go check that out. So did it go up there? Yeah, perfect. I'm sorry I couldn't pull up the comments, guys. Usually that is, the big thing of StreamYard. That's what I love to do, is to pull your comments up and be able to interact with you guys. But we found a way to get you on screen, and I appreciate you guys for riding with me. You guys are always awesome. Always. I really, really enjoy, digging into these things with you guys, because even when it's not, a super heated debate, oh my God, I can't believe he said that. Like, oh, hey, we do that stuff because it's fun, but not everything is going to be that. And you guys seem to understand that and respect that. And I really appreciate it, because, I'm really, really trying to do something here. This is not just a hobby. This is something, and it's not just a job either. I really genuinely believe that I can change this country. I really genuinely believe that I can fix discourse in this country. I just need to get in front of the right people, because even if I don't have the answers right now, I will get in front of those people and they'll say, this is what's wrong with your message, and I will fix it. And then I will do that again and 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 again until I have the right answer, until I have that answer and that message in front of the people who can actually do something about it. So if that's something that you're interested in, this is the channel for you. Make sure you're subscribed. I'm here every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. I drop videos every single day. And we have the Discord server. We're in there 24/7. We're hanging out, and we're about to head right over there for the after party. So thank you so much, guys. I really do appreciate you. I'm sorry that Morty was a little sparse today, but the thunder, you know what it does to him. I think the bottom line here is that we have to remember that each of us individuals, like I am me, you are you, and we as a group may have certain understandings, but that doesn't mean that other people know the same things that we do. That doesn't mean that other people think about things the same way we do. And that doesn't mean anything bad. It's just something that we have to deal with. So again, thank you so much. You guys are awesome. Big shout out to Peter Boghossian for not only having awesome content, but for coming through. And I'm sure you will likely, probably, definitely, maybe see him again soon. I'm not saying anything when I'm saying something. So make sure you subscribe. You definitely don't want to miss that. Until next time, guys, thank you so much for hanging out. I have been your host, Lutch, aka the Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. Head on over to Discord. The party is starting. Until then, guys, I am out of here. Peace.